So welcome to episode 29 of the Free of My podcast. I've literally just looked and then forgotten. So anyone that listens regularly, you'll know I haven't done one for a while. I've just been learning so much, and and I decided as well that I wanted to start bringing other people into the conversation. So today is the first time of doing that. So most of you probably from listening to, if you're a client or been on my in my mastermind, or I'm pretty sure throughout the podcast up until now probably mentioned Nailor or Chris Nailor, but I just call him Nailor, or my best friend or whatever. I'm sure I've said the stories before where essentially we've pretty much done the same job, read the same books, listen to the same audio books, went to the same uni, played for the same team, worked for the same company, lived in the same house. So we kind of just always we've always just discussed everything humans and human behavior and personal development, and from the ages of like, I don't even know how old. Welcome, Chris. It sounds weird calling you Chris, and moving forward, I'm going to have to call you Nailor. So,
hello. Yeah. It's a privilege to be here.
Well, the first ever guest.
Yeah.
But why don't you start with but actually before we carry on, you guys will know me. It's very casual, very chilled. There's been no pre-planning here at all. So this could be really shit or it could be really good, but I suspect it'll be good. So why don't you start with why you do what you do, I guess. Yeah, your story.
Where do I start? I have no idea where to start, really. I mean, I think the journey, the story has kind of all contributed to where I'm at today. And I think our relationship's obviously been a big part of that. I think obviously we met when we was like 14 at school. And I don't know how we ended up sort of connecting and just resonating with each other. And I think from that moment, obviously, I think our conversations, we used to sit over the park and basically discuss life at the age of 14. And I don't know, it was kind of like a deeper conversation. And I suppose, what I do as a coach is sort of facilitate a deeper conversation with people and discuss things that maybe other people, they wouldn't discuss with other people. And I guess me and you have been doing that since we met. And I don't really know how it kind of unfolded, to be honest. It all just seemed to just unfold one thing after another. I followed different passions, and I think we both had similar passions and things that we liked and enjoyed. Personal training, we're both into that. Both followed that. Both obviously went to the same uni because we're both interested in sports science. I think initially I wanted to be a PE teacher. I think you did as well, and that was very much the direction you was pushed in at uni. It was kind of like, you're doing all of this to become a PE teacher. And I think both of us actually got to the end of our degree thinking, I don't even want to be a PE teacher. Not that there was anything wrong with that, but it was actually just like, what, so 3 years into a degree that was kind of leading towards becoming a teacher, sort of maybe question that path. And sort of from there, I suppose I was always interested. It started with the body, it started with sport, it started with science, and it just sort of spiraled, I guess. Got into personal training, enjoyed that, started learning more about psychology and training psychology for myself more than anything, and also then kind of carrying over to clients. And then I started to actually fall in love with more of a mindset stuff, as opposed to actually stood there counting reps for people. I did enjoy that for a period of time, but I just preferred the deeper conversations. I preferred sort of teaching people about their thoughts, their emotions, how they were in control of their life if only they, could channel their focus, their clarity, and in the direction that was right for them. So that kind of led me to where I am today. And I suppose since now, how long have we been doing this for now? Like 6-7 years, I think, something crazy like that. So and that's where I am today, and just had the privilege of working with lots of different people throughout that time. Mostly the trend in common is they all want to be better. They want to improve either in their life, their business, or happiness, or presence, or I don't know, whatever this conversation is, really. So that's a bit about me, really.
Yeah, no, I love that. So random, but what come to mind is thinking about uni, where at the end of my degree, I finished with essentially teaching in a primary school. I think it was for 6 weeks, and I got paid. And during that 6 weeks is when I realized I fucking hated kids. I just didn't like them. It was like, this is horrible, and didn't enjoy it at all. And then all the teachers were saying, "Don't become a teacher." So it was like, okay, cool. Well, that's that then. But yeah, as you just said, you know, we sort of went into PTing, personal training. I think that was the natural, easiest progression. It's like, right, sports science and physical education. Where do you go from here? Don't want to teach. It was like a personal trainer. Okay, that makes sense. But yeah, if we sort of both went on the journey, didn't we? Where you start seeing that, you know, the weight loss is simple. Just don't eat as much food and train more. It's not fucking difficult.
Yeah.
Just, that's all you have to do. No, none of this other bollocks really matters, but yet you would find them, you know, oh, they're crying. Why are you crying? Well, I had one custard cream. That's fine. No, but then I had one, and then I felt like, well, I've ruined it now. So then I had the whole pack, and then I went on a binge for 3 days. And it was like, for us, I remember it was like, I think we wanted to get to the bottom of that. Like, why is it that it's so simple, yet we make it so difficult? Humans make it so difficult. Or why is one person, you know, as you'll remember, one person came to us and changed, because we always had a personal development slant on our training, and we incorporated meditation. And you know, one woman come to us, changed her life, went from being suicidal and addicted to cocaine to losing weight, just feeling like happy about life again, and you know, thanked us so much and referred everyone. And it's like, you'd have that, but in the same class, listening to the same words, doing the same meditation, the same exercises, and being in the same Facebook group or whatever that we had for our clients, you'd have someone else that just is not getting any results. And that was confusing. I know I took that personally, because I felt like it was my job to know, you know, like I was responsible. I think that's what got me into this. It was like trying to work out what is going on, what's stopping them from getting the same results. Why is it so difficult for some but not for others? Or why are they saying they want to lose weight but yet they're eating fish and chips on a Friday, and I see them walking out of the chip shop and they're like sheepishly trying to hide it from me? So was that a similar experience for you?
Yeah, I think it was,
didn't we, by the way, anyone that doesn't know?
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't realized already, we pretty much do everything together. So, well, most things. But yeah, no, for me, it was very similar. It
Not
was
everything. Like, yeah, we should throw it. Like, we don't bath together or anything weird.
No, we don't do anything like that. No. No, I'm trying to think. You got what mine trailing now. I was thinking back to some of the holidays we've had and stuff, but yeah, we'll forget about that. We'll leave that for another day. No, I was thinking in terms of the training. Yeah, it was like, okay, cool. There's a strategy here. You know, the strategy is quite straightforward. It's quite simple. Train, eat less, you know, but then it was like, there was more to it. You know, I think we've been having conversations recently about strategy. If it was all about strategy, then everyone would be doing everything all of the time. It would be very simple. There'd be do this, do that to get this result. But we are emotional beings. Obviously, we deal with emotions that are within us, and we also deal with the nature of thought that seems to be all over the place too. You know, where 1 minute you wake up in the morning and you feel motivated and you're inspired to move forwards, and then some days you wake up and you can't be asked to get out of bed. You know, and so we realised, I think both of us noticed very quickly that if it was just that, then everyone would get results. There wouldn't even be a need for a trainer, for a coach, really, you know. And I think a lot of people thought that, I think, you know, maybe personal training or coaching, it does provide an element of accountability. It is someone you have to show up to and show up for, you know. I remember, like, obviously doing early sessions and stuff. It was like, you know, the client would love to cancel you, but at the same time they wouldn't, because they wouldn't want to feel bad about doing that either. So they showed up anyway. They didn't want to do it, but they showed up anyway. And I think one thing we discussed, especially when it comes to the gym, because I think you've been a lot more consistent than me, but been training for like 16 years now, maybe even longer. I don't always want to go to the gym. You know, I love the gym. I don't always want to go, but I always go, regardless of what I'm thinking, regardless of what I'm feeling, because I like to challenge my thinking. You know, and I've been doing that from from an early age, especially with the gym. There's been loads of areas that I haven't done it with, and I'm still seeing, so I'm not perfect at all. There's so many areas. Business is one of them, for example, where I'm still, are these thoughts actually true? Because I found that I'd be sat on the sofa thinking, I don't want to do anything. But then when I'm in the gym, I feel really good. And I'm like, that's the best decision I made all day. And I learned that very quickly, that if I kind of walked through my thinking, walked through the feeling that I was feeling rather than sat in it, it would move. It would just kind of get out of the way. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's made me think of like when people would say to me, like, oh yeah, but because I train in the morning. I think I must have mentioned this many times. The gym to me is the most enjoyable part of my day. It's quite sad, but yeah, so good at the same time. I'll be in the shower thinking, oh, what have I got today? Oh yeah, or tomorrow, like legs. Oh yeah, buzzing. But like people would say, yeah, but like, how'd you go so early? Because I wake up and I just think, oh, I can't be asked. And I'm like, yeah, me too. I think I can't be asked most mornings. Or some mornings I think I can, but most mornings I wake up, most mornings I wake up, I think I can't be asked for this. Life is fucking shit. Everything's crap. And I just want to lay in, but you just get up and you do it anyway. And before you know it, you listen to an audiobook, you're drinking your coffee, you're at the gym. And again, I think that points to something you've just touched on, which obviously is the nature of thinking, that, it fluctuates. It's not truth. And I think that's the issue, as you'll know, is people seeing thought as truth, seeing that, because they think that they can't be asked, they think that means something. Or the amount of clients I've had that think they should be skipping out of bed every morning happy. And it's like, yeah, it's possible. There are some mornings I wake up buzzing, but there are many mornings I wake up and I feel like, not again. Like, at least for the first 5 minutes or so, I've noticed the first 5 minutes of me waking up, my brain is like, oh, don't make me do it. And then it's like, it starts to warm up and get going. But
yeah, definitely. I mean, to be honest, even this morning, I never have a Monday feeling, to be honest. I do actually quite enjoy my life and look forward to it. And I look forward to the week most of the time. But this morning I woke up and I sort of crawled out of bed, and I have my morning routine of like an hour where I just sit on the sofa and drink coffee, listen to audio, stare out the window, watch for birds, all that sort of really good stuff, and I was just sat there just like, I can't be arsed. I've got this busy schedule today. I can't be bothered to do any of it. You really just don't really want to do anything in that moment. But there's this ounce of consciousness, and it's only a very small amount in the mornings for me. I don't know if it is for you. Well, I think I know for you it's very similar. Consciousness seems to be very small in the mornings, first thing anyway. It's like I'm still kind of trapped in I think there's some, theoretical stuff about the brain. It's still kind of waking up. You're still kind of getting out of that survival mode type thing, and you're like caveman type thing. Waking up into your human brain, whatever. And in that moment, I don't want to do anything. And I used to get lost in that. I used to battle myself. I used to almost have an argument with myself. Get up! I can't be bothered. Get up! I can't be bothered. Get up! And it's like I don't even do that anymore, because I just understand and know that give me time to start waking up. I'm fine, and then I don't even know what happens, but through that time and that presence of kind of feeling the feeling and just moving through it, I'm then up and I'm doing stuff and I don't even really know what's happened or changed. But it's like my whole kind of sense of being can shift without me really doing anything. Sometimes it does require me to do something. Sometimes I actually do tell myself to just get the fuck up, get up, and I actually then get up, or I go outside, or get up and go for a walk, or get up and get in the cold shower, or get up and get on the exercise mat and start doing some foam rolling. And sometimes that's quite useful. I'm not recommending it to everyone. I'm not going to say it works for everyone, but it kind of works for me, It kind of makes me think about this, what is it? I can't remember who actually wrote it. This 5-second rule. You've heard of it, haven't you? Where you count back from 5. Have you heard that?
Tell me anyway.
I can't remember who it was, but she wrote a book about it. She's got a whole business based around this 5-second rule, which is basically count back from 5 and move. So it's a 5-second action, essentially. So if I'm sat on the sofa and I can't be bothered, I count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get up, go, get on with something. And it's funny because it's like, I get it. I get that. I understand that, because it's like almost an ultimatum, right? Get up now, move, And I find that, when you do that, when I do that, and you do it consistently enough to kind of move through the thoughts and the emotions that you have in that moment to then experience a different part of yourself. And I've always said that it's not easy, but it is quite simple. And I do think that this better part of who we want to become and who we are trying to be more of the time, it is literally the other side of some thoughts and emotion. And there'll be some days where you can't move through it at all. Those days. I know those days. Sometimes actually it's just a case of being all right with it, accepting it, being totally okay with it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I love that. There's a couple of thoughts come to mind. I mean, the last part in particular as well, because I could see how people get caught in this. But I think people are looking for a system, something that always works. So it's like, if I get up and do this, this, and this, in the tick boxes, if I have a cold shower, if I do the 5-second rule, if I this, and this. But like you've just touched on, there are some days where you just can't move through it. There are some days where you think, actually, do you know what? I'm not fucking getting up today. And then that starts to kind of call into question the life we live anyway. Like, who said Monday to Friday? Who invented the calendar? Who said we're not supposed to hibernate all winter and just sit there and get fat and sit in a cave? Like, I'm not saying to do that, but I'm just saying actually you start to realize we create these prisons made of thinking that it's not okay to rest this morning because it's a Thursday, not a Sunday, or it's not okay to have a lay-in because, and one thing that's helped me, I think I used to be looking for rules, the truth of the human experience. And to be fair, things like the gym stayed for me, and it's because I consistently enjoy them and they consistently work and whatever. Which I'm gonna carry on with this, but the one thing that comes to mind is someone's definition, I don't know who, of discipline is when your higher desires rule your lesser desires. I remember hearing that and thinking, I love that, because it's like when I'm in the bed in the morning, I actually sometimes think about that. Like, what's my highest desire? My highest desire is to get to the gym, smash the workout, get out, record a podcast, for example, or just be the best version of myself. And my lowest desires are to lay in bed, nap, whatever, eat a cake. I don't know why you do that in the morning. I like that. I like checking in with those highest desires because there's, again, I couldn't even really point to why that makes a difference, but there's a feeling to that. And that's where I was going with this, that for me, it's like some days these work and some days they don't. Some days the 5-second rule, if that's what that's called, works. Some days I get to 5 and go, nah, get up. Nah, I'm not getting up. Fuck it. And when you actually give yourself permission to not get up, your whole body goes, oh, this is what I need, actually. So it's funny because the reason I'm saying this is there's no definitive answer. Some people need to chill the fuck out more. Some people need a cuddle. Some people need to kick up the arse. Some people need to get the fuck up. Some people probably need to sit the fuck down. To me, actually, what's really powerful, and I think you'd probably agree, but I'd get your take on this in a second, is it's part of what I love about coaching or these conversations, whether it's group coaching or however it is, or even just provoking insight with podcasts, is it's being able, I think the power is being able to tune into ourselves in that moment, to understand ourselves deep enough, to understand, almost that moment by moment kind of guidance system. Like, what do I most need now in this moment? Is it to go to the gym? Is it to sit down? Is it to get up? Is it to, being able to know ourselves and trust ourselves enough to tap into that feeling or that thought or that emotion? But obviously a lot of people aren't there, probably don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Or they don't trust themselves, or sometimes they've disassociated from their own feelings so much they don't even know anymore. And it's a shitstorm of confusion where most people don't know who they are, and what they want, and etc. And they don't trust that. But what are your thoughts on that? Because I know you'll have some whilst I drink some water and shut up for a second.
No, I agree. I think yeah, it is about tapping into the feeling, and I kind of what come to mind, I could hear one of my clients saying to me, yeah, it's all right for you, Chris, because you could just choose to do this in the moment, or you could, but what about when you've got a day that's already planned, a day that's already scheduled, and you have to do it? And I'm like, yeah, well, sometimes you just have to accept that you have to do it, but you just go into it being who you are in the moment, and you just do it. Do you know what I mean? You take the expectation off yourself. You don't expect yourself to smash it out of the park today. There was a really good analogy before, I don't know if you remember this, where it was single, what was it? Swinging success, hitting singles for success, or something like that. It was a cricket analogy. Can you remember it?
Yeah, I think it was baseball actually. Simple success swinging singles.
That's it. Bang on, yeah. And every now and again, you'll swing a six every now and again. But most people, I don't know about you, but when I'm coaching clients, more often than not, they're trying to swing a six every day.
Yeah.
And they end up swinging
once a day.
What they end up actually doing is they end up throwing the bat out into the stadium. They end up literally out every day. They try and swing a six and they end up out of it. And it's so sometimes it's like, if you've got a routine, a schedule already lined up, just do what you can, go into it with what you can bring into it. But then this is where coaching is powerful, because it's like you can then reflect upon that and you can say, hang on a minute, I tend to burn out at some point during my week. Maybe I need a day with some space in there for myself. Do you know what I mean? Maybe I need, and I'm pretty sure anyone that runs a business, I get if you have a job, it's a bit different. But if you run a business, you do actually have control over your diary. You can make changes and tweak things, if you want to. That is, I'm not saying you have to, but you can. So that was the first thing that come to mind. But the second thing was, like going back to tools and strategies. There's a phrase that I like, which is might help, can't hurt. They might help sometimes. We actually had this discussion, I can't remember when, a while ago, but I think we both come to the conclusion that without tactics or tools or little strategies, you're kind of just left to your own devices. With them, they don't always work. They're not guaranteed. And this is where I think I used to trip up. I used to think that, but they should work all of the time. They don't, because they're not designed that way, But they work sometimes and they don't work all the time. But the times when they do work, they're worth every single ounce of their whatever it is that they have. Do you know what I mean? Like a cold shower, for example. It may work, it might not. Like sometimes a cold shower can literally change my whole state. And that's exactly what I need. Sometimes a cold shower does nothing at all. Complete waste of time. I don't know why I did it. I don't know why I put myself through that pain and torture for. But, oh well, it's like the gym as well. If I go 4 or 5 times a week, how many times do I smash it? 3, 4? I always have a session usually in a week that isn't as good as what I want it to be. Today I was laughing at myself because I couldn't even do the reps I did last week for bicep curls, and I was laughing at myself in the mirror because I couldn't lift it. I was just like, what the hell is that? But it is what it is. So yeah, I think going back to what you said with tools and tactics and strategies, I think they work. They work sometimes. They don't work all the time, but they're useful to have. They're useful to have in your back pocket. And sometimes it doesn't matter how many tools and strategies you apply. You just need to chill out and just have a break. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And even if you can't chill out and sit on the sofa, it's just take the pressure off yourself and just do what you can in your day. Do you agree with that? Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting because what comes to mind when you're saying that is there's no disadvantage. I never find a disadvantage to going to the gym. I either enjoy it or I'm happy that it's done. But there's no disadvantage. I guess if you was going there and trying to lift some ridiculous amount of weight and injuring yourself, maybe that'd be different. That's not what I do. But I've never ever journaled and come away and gone, well, that's made my day worse. I've never had a cold shower and come away and said, that's made my day worse. I've never gone to the gym. I've never had date night with the wife and spoken about whatever we need to talk about, or it's even like the shit that causes us stress that we kick down the road, kick the can down the road, a phone call or ringing the bank, or you never do these things and come away thinking, well, that was worse. It's like might help, can't hurt. Often you come away and go, I'm glad I did that. Sometimes you come away and go, wow, that made a difference. And some days you come away and go, yeah. But for me, what comes to mind is enjoyment, following that kind of feeling, but also I treating everything as an exploration, seeing it as a journey. Yeah, my mind just stopped for a second because I was thinking of Jimmy Carr on Stephen Bartlett's podcast, where he's essentially, when he's asked about happiness, he says enjoying the passage of time. just made me think of enjoying the passage of time, made me think of being present. So it's like if you're enjoying the process of the shower, you're enjoying and you're being present, enjoying the process of the morning routine or the audio book then to me it's like, yeah, you can't really lose from that. There's no disadvantage. I think the difficulty is, I think as you touched on, is when someone looks at the tool like it is the thing. This is, I need to do this to be okay, and then if it doesn't work, it's like it's a problem, or it's like I guess people are putting the power outside of themselves in some way, as opposed to these tools. And the reason I like the word exploration is they kind of point us home to ourselves. They point us home to the present moment. You might ask yourself a question, and that question is like, or the cold shower might shut your thinking up long enough for you to remember what it feels like to not be thinking so much. Or yeah. Anyway, I'm waffling there, but it's we could go down that route for a long time. But yeah, did anything come to mind as I was talking?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's where they point to. You know, sometimes they point, sometimes they don't. The times when they don't, I just surrender now and go, all right, cool, whatever. I've tried. Do you know what I mean? Like I used to say to, I've even said it now with clients that say they want to go to the gym. I'm like, well, get to the gym and make a decision as to whether you actually want to train when you're in the gym. You know, get in the gym. Like what I tend to do is I tend to get in the gym, start warming up, and sometimes I just collapse on the mat and I just can't be asked. And I'll just look at my phone and I'll scroll Facebook and I'll go, nah, it's not happening today. But I'm kind of happy that I even showed up and found out. Do you know what I mean? Like at least now I know. But there's always something to do anyway, for me personally in the gym. Like you will know anyway, like foam rolling, stretching. There's always something you can do. But yeah, no, I think, yeah, no, I don't know what I think. I think I've said what I think.
Yeah, well, it's like if I'm the gym talking about that, if I get there, yeah, and sometimes I'll stretch. That's another example though. So if someone says good session, it's like, well, I didn't really do the session, but I stretched. And sometimes I'll foam roll and stretch for an hour and feel pretty awesome about that. It's like there's always a usefulness to it. But yeah, it's just funny actually, because I was thinking how, again, everyone's coming at this from different angles. I know some people are running at the speed of light and they need to slow the fuck down. Some people probably need speeding up. Really, I think it's a shame that words don't seem to carry enough insight. If I could put all of what I see and know and experience and insight and knowledge into a couple of words, and you pass those words over and that person just wakes up instantly, that'd be pretty cool. Although I think that'd make life quite boring because the journey's half the fun. But most people need to chill the fuck out. They do. They need to chill the fuck out. And they normally give too much of a fuck about too many things. And as you'll know, anyway, it's like the pressure we put on ourselves, the pressure that we put on ourselves to do anything. And it is just usually huge, which is funny actually, because my mind is now going down the route of like meaning and thoughts and but anyway.
Yeah, I think, I don't know about you, but I very rarely talk to people that are, most people I speak to are usually putting too much pressure on themselves. They're either trying to work too hard or they're putting too much thought and emotional pressure on themselves for not doing the thing that they should be doing. And it's like, I don't know where we learned in this society that pressure was useful. You know, like I get that some people will say that pressure is useful. I agree. Some pressure can be useful, definitely. But this is another one of those things that I think, I can't remember who it was that spoke about this. It depends on whether pressure leads to stress. Because some people love pressure. You could say like Cristiano Ronaldo loves the pressure. But it doesn't seem to point to stress for him. He seems to love it. But if pressure starts pointing to stress, sometimes we can, I think, deal with things in a moment from a place of stress, and sometimes it can be useful. Stress response is obviously something that's built within us to keep us alive. So it can be very instinctive and useful. at times. It's just not a great place to come from all the time, because you end up burning out, you end up feeling tired, you end up running off stress all of the time. And as we know, it's just not that good for your body, really. So
yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that, because I'm thinking about, I don't perform well under pressure at all. Pressure seems to make me go into more of a flight or freeze. Pressure seems to have, I see it in my clients, some of them go into fight, and then they just get loads done, and they're constantly on the treadmill. And interestingly, they don't even know they're stressed. I think they've been stressed for so long, they don't even know they're stressed. And physical symptoms will show up. I'm actually reading a book called When the Body Says No. It's kind of along those lines, which is essentially how, when your body is in stress response for long periods of time, then symptoms start to show up, chronic illnesses, diseases, etc. Of course, like, I think it's Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. Is that the book? Essentially says that we are designed to be in stress response for about 20 minutes a day, but actually most people are in stress response fucking permanently or for hours at a time. And everyone responds differently to stress response. For me, it's more of a I sometimes go into fight, but then I burn out. And that's accompanied with kind of anger and frustration. And I've recently realized, driven by fear a lot more than I realized. But more often than not is a feeling of flight or freeze, where I just want to sit on the sofa and I want everyone to fuck off. Everyone fuck off. Everyone leave me alone. And even the thought of I've just got to text my dad back, and I might need to just text him and say one word, yes. And it's like, even that feels like the biggest task. I can't even face it. And I just want everything to leave me alone. So it's like, that's what, again, this is a new conversation really in the direction of stress response, etc. But it's just quite interesting to look at pressure. I guess, again, it looks at like, because the human experience is like, we've got this whole outside world. We've got all of these things happening. We've got, bills need paying and jobs need doing and blah, blah, blah. But what's fascinating is everything is being interpreted through each individual's thought processes, interpreted through emotions, thought processes, past experiences, past traumas. So it's like, it's pretty nuts really to think about how there's kind of what's happening out there, but then there's actually what's happening inside of us as a result of what's happening out there, which is as a result of our thinking and our meanings and our emotions which is why obviously we do what we do, because it's like everyone's looking out there. If only that was okay, I wouldn't be stressed. And if only that was okay, then I would be happy. And if only I had that much money, then I could do this. Whereas obviously for us, the whole conversation is always looking in at, what is pressure? What does that mean to you? Why do you feel that way? What is the emotion? So yeah, what comes to mind for you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think the key is, if you're listening to this, you just have to ask yourself, how do you work best? Because I'm similar to you. I don't really perform particularly well under pressure. I tend to want to kind of wave a white flag. So I set up my life in a way where I try and make it winnable. When I feel like I can win, I do better. And whether you believe this or not, it's kind of like, I do believe that we get to design the game that we play in, not all the time, depends on the situation, but we do get to kind of play with our thoughts and design the game to make us feel more motivated. I did a podcast episode the other day on purpose, and I was talking about, what is your purpose? People are like, what is my purpose? What is my purpose? I need to know what my purpose is. Someone tell me what my purpose is. And it's like, your purpose is, this is my interpretation. I'm not saying this is true, so you don't have to quote me here. But I think purpose really is like, it's just a made up set of thoughts that seem to motivate you and get more out of yourself. I think that's it in a nutshell. A made up set of thoughts that seem to motivate you and make you feel like your life is worth living. Do you know what I mean? It's like, for me, purpose tends to lead to more motivation, more energy, sort of a reason to exist. And what is purpose? Purpose is made up of a set of thoughts and beliefs that get you out of bed in the morning, get you moving forwards. I don't know if you've seen this with your clients, but some of my clients that are clear and are moving forwards all the time, the purpose is actually quite clearly defined. They may not necessarily know it. Yeah. So, going back to, I guess, stress and pressure, it's like, I suppose what I'm trying to say here is we get to make up the game. And it really comes down to the individual to sort of get clear on, do I work better under stress? Do I work better, perform better under pressure? Do I perform well under pressure but then burn out? Okay, cool. Well, let's look at that. Let's look at, can I be under pressure but not burn out? Do you know what I mean? Like, how can I, if I enjoy being under pressure, can I have some space in here to actually relax at times, to let my body come down? You know, I've got a client looking at his HRV and how his body reacts to stress. And there's no surprise when he goes absolutely hell for leather for 2 weeks, and he'll take it all on. He'll go into absolute warrior mode. He'll take control of the whole business and he'll get everything sorted and he loves it. But then he's dead after 2 weeks and he's snappy and he's causing problems and is, you know, he's speaking to people in ways he doesn't like. He then feels guilty for that, you know. He then feels frustrated because he can't do the things that he likes to do, you know. So then he starts getting annoyed and questioning the whole business, and you know, and it's like, this is where self-reflection is useful, because it's like, okay, cool, can we prevent that burnout? How can we prevent that burnout? Do you know what I mean? How can we inject a bit of space here and there, a bit of balance into that to prevent burnout? And that's up for grabs, essentially, you know, I think for everyone. Yeah,
it's I was thinking, like, when you were talking about the first part, it made me think of a conversation I had with a client recently. I'm a Spurs fan and he is as well, so I just used the football analogy because it's easy. I was talking about Højbjerg in defense, sort of defensive midfield position for Spurs. You know, this dude has been obviously playing football for his whole life, you imagine, probably from a young age, day in, day out, week in, week out, yet he cannot hit the goal. For $1 million fucking quid, the guy can't put the ball anywhere near the goal. You would imagine that every professional footballer playing that much football would all develop every aspect of the game, tackling, passing, shooting, etc. Yet you got someone like him who cannot hit a fucking barn door.
Sounds
with
like
a beach
Fred
ball.
for Man United as well.
So imagine if he was trying to be a striker, and again, take that analogy, change it into your business or role or job or life, or, you know, if he's trying to be a striker all of the time and putting all the pressure on himself to hit the target all of the time, but he's going to burn out quickly, think he's failing and wonder why he's not doing very well. Whereas if he realizes, actually, that's not his game. My game is being in this midfield, getting tackles in, breaking up the play. His passing's not particularly great. So he just basically gets the ball, breaks up the play, tackles it, and just passes it to someone that can do something with it, essentially. So that's what comes to mind when you were talking. It's like, we have to know ourselves, because we have to know what our strengths are. We have to know what our limitations are. We have to know what our weaknesses are. And as you said, define our life around that, create our, you know, we get to make up the game and say, right, you know, I'm someone that's forgetful. So there's no point me having anything in my life that requires me to remember shit. Isn't going to happen. Like if my income depended on me remembering to get a bag of sugar on the way home, I'd be broke. I can just say, Jenna says, can you remember to this? I'm like, no, but if you text me and remind me when I leave the office, I'll probably then still forget, but I'll try. But yet weirdly, I don't make any notes in client conversations, and yet I remember every conversation. I remember the exact sentences, the words, the details. I don't know why that is. I'm not sure what the difference is, but I think that's one of the things for me, is it felt like, I've seen this with my clients, where there's a phrase, isn't there? If you judge every animal by its ability to climb a tree, then a goldfish grows up thinking it's stupid. I felt like that a lot. It's like, fucking good at swimming, but yeah, I think I'm supposed to be climbing this tree. And you're like, I think I'm a tree. It's stabbed in the eye by branches, like wondering what's going on. I see that a lot. A lot of people, they don't see their strengths because their strengths to them are invisible. They think they don't know what they know because they just take it for granted and they assume everyone knows. Sometimes that means they either think they're an imposter because they think they don't know anything and they don't realize they know a lot and no one else knows what they know. Sometimes it actually makes them, depending on the other side of the spectrum, is they think they're surrounded by idiots because they think everyone knows what they know. So why are all these people being fucking idiots? But yet on the flip side, there's normally parts of themselves that they have that they're not that good at, but we tend to ignore that. Depends on our lens. Anyway, that was a really wild tangent just off the back of what you said, where you're talking about essentially our strengths, creating the game, you know, looking at ourselves. And I think maybe that's the main thing, is There's no one size fits all, but it's that self-exploration. It's that exploration of yourself, getting to know yourself, getting to know the operating system of being human, I guess. The more we get to know ourselves. And I don't know about you, but I'm still learning myself. And every day I think I knew myself. I'm like, you fucking idiot. You knew nothing.
Yeah, 100%. And the other thing is as well, is even when you get to a point where you feel like you figured it out and everything kind of looks quite good, you get fucking bored anyway and you want something more. It's true though, isn't it? Like, and then you have to redesign everything again. You have to go again, you know? It's just like, you know, kind of where I'm at the moment. Now COVID's fucked off and we can travel a little bit. I'm like, oh, I want to travel more. And it's like, I kind of feel like I'm just about figuring out who I am with routine and structure. And now I've got to kind of redesign the game again. Do you know what I mean? But I love that. I love that continual growth and that insight and that reflection. I think it's invaluable. And I think, you know, if you do want to see growth, you've always got to try and, you're always getting, it's not the next level, but it kind of points to that there is more of yourself to explore and become, you know. So it literally never ends, you know, like literally never ends. I'm working with a client at the moment where he doesn't need to be who he's being in his business. Who he's being in his business is who he's been to get the business to where it is now. But now he has over 100 staff. He doesn't need to be the chef, the cleaner, the driver, the delivery driver, the pouring pints. He loves it. He doesn't need to do it. He's got other businesses he's setting up. He needs to be a CEO now. He needs to change his whole habits. Everything needs to change, but it's so difficult. Do you know what I mean? It's like this pull back. Like, keep me here, I'm safe. But then when I ask him, I'm like, why even bother then? He's like, because I want to experience myself at that next level. I want to be able to look at myself in the mirror and say, I fucking did it. I actually could do it. Maybe I won't ever get there, but I'd like to at least try. I'm like, right, cool. You know? So it's funny because, we're always figuring this shit out all the time. And when you do, you kind of sit there and you go, oh, yeah, this is great. Now what? What do I want to do now?
So it made me think of, and I totally relate to that, not only personally, but also clients. But I can't even count on my fingers anymore how many clients I've had sell their business. And they think that their life is going to be great once they sell the business, because then I can get up and do this and that, blah, blah. And then they sell it and they find themselves bored. They find themselves lost. They find themselves unmotivated. They find themselves, and one of them last week realized he misses the challenges. He misses the challenge. And I think that's it. It's like, we don't want the stress, but we want the challenge. We don't want the stress and the bullshit and the ball ache, if that's how we're interpreting it. But yet we do want to grow. I think growth is probably one of the most, especially for people like us, you know, one of the most, because people like us, and I imagine most people listening, are people that haven't just settled for mediocrity, or if they have, that's killing them inside, because we want to grow, we want to evolve, we want to learn, we want to get better, we want to improve. The amount of times that I see that. And I was having a conversation with a client about this, and they were saying, because when someone sells the business, they think they're just selling the stress, but they don't realize they're selling the purpose, they're selling their identity, they're selling the admiration, they're selling the challenge, they're selling the growth, they're selling the, and I hadn't even thought of it that way before until he said it, so I've stolen that. But yeah, I love that. It's like, I think we can be mistaken into thinking that we want life to be easy, and we just want to get, once I get here, this money, this house, this whatever, then I'll be happy. And as you know, and I think everyone probably knows by now, you get there, and sometimes there's a short period of, oh, this is nice, there's a relief, there's enjoyment, there's an enjoyment, even there's an appreciation, but then quickly followed by, it can sometimes be the feeling of, is this it? Or I want more, or this is now I thought it was going to be. Or as you said, sometimes people then kind of regress back, because it's like the brain wants that safety. It wants to go back to what's known. It wants to so funny to think about all of this conversation, isn't it? It's like we're just at the core, it's like we're just humans that just are born, we reproduce, we eat some food, and we die. But yet somehow in amongst all of it, we create all this crazy shit, which, if you see it as a negative and all of the heaviness and the pressure and all of that stuff, then obviously it's not that fun. But when you learn to love it, it's so cool. Even on, but obviously there are some days where it's not cool at all. Some days where you just think, fucking hang me from a tree, I'll come past.
It's all
then
shit.
Obviously, usually when you come out the other side, you come out the other side and you go, oh God, I've just had some insights. I've realized this and this and this. But Nailor, you'll know. You'll get the worst of it. The amount of times I'll send you a voice message saying it's all shit, everything is shit. But the good thing is with us is we know that that's not the truth. It's just sometimes I got a new client actually last week, and he kept having to remind me, like, I'm not miserable. I am happy, but I feel like I'm just bitching. It's like, look, you don't have to apologize. If you can't bitch on the phone to me, then where can you? Like, sometimes we need to get this shit out. We have to moan. We have to bitch. We have to complain. We have to say this is all shit. It's bollocks and I hate it all. Because as we say it, we hear it for ourselves. And there's something quite cathartic about it. Obviously, if you live in that too long, you become, those thoughts become things. They become,
if you make that your story, as a kind of cathartic, dangerous.
That's different. Yeah. Making it your story is different, but expressing it. Sometimes I'll preface that to my wife or to Nailor. I used to do it to you, but you now know it anyway. I'd say, look, Jenna, I need you to listen to this. Nothing I'm about to say is true, so don't panic, but I just need to moan. Can do that. Yeah. Right. Everything shit. Fucking hate all of it. And hang myself from a tree. Set a light to all of it. In the past, I didn't know to say that. So she would go into stress response thinking everything's going wrong, whereas now she knows that sometimes it's not true, it's just that's how it feels in the moment. And once I've said it, I'm like, I feel better now. I've had it before where clients have sent me this massive message of bollocks and I haven't even replied, and then a day later I'm like, now you read that back, how much of that is still a problem? And they're like, no, none of it. But yeah. Funny. What is the time actually? We should probably start to wrap this up, but do you have anything to kind of add to that? I know we've jumped around everywhere and I always do anyway, but
I think
anything that comes to mind.
I think if we're going to conclude what we've spoken about today, if it's possible to even conclude it, I don't know why we like to wrap things up for. It's difficult. Wrap it up in a nice present with a bow to take away. No, I think it would just be that the game is never ending. I think it's a case of trying to enjoy it as much as possible. There's nowhere really to get to, because when you get there, like even when you've got the money, or if you've got the freedom, the time freedom, maybe you want to travel and do stuff like that, there's always a new challenge. There really is, and that can be fun. There actually isn't anywhere to get to, because when you get there, there's something new all of the time. Now, I want to achieve that. Again, you could take that two ways. You could take that as depressing and fucking hell, what's the point? Trust me, I've been there. That isn't fun, because you just sit on the sofa every day. You don't want to do anything. Life is pointless, and you might as well just not exist. So that doesn't seem like a useful way of thinking about life for me personally. If I think about life as cool, it's this kind of continual journey where I get to create shit in the world, enjoy the process of it, have some really cool experiences. But I'm always going to probably desire more. I'm never really going to get anywhere and suddenly be happy. Like, I can access happiness in the moment. I can access freedom in the moment. But it's the game of life. We live in a physical world. It is a duality. It's about mastering the inside, but also the outside as well. And if you want to have shit and play with stuff and use money as a tool to have experiences and adventures and buy shit and set up businesses, and cool. But I think this notion that we're just going to get somewhere and suddenly everything's going to click into place and everything's going to be perfect. It's not existed in my life up until this point. I'm very. If you're someone that feels like you've got to that point, I'm very curious to have a conversation with you.
Yeah. I mean, I can't add anything to that really. I think that was a good conclusion. I couldn't top that. Yeah. So I'm not even going to try. But so, I mean, in conclusion, not in conclusion to the convo, but in conclusion to the overall convo, If you have enjoyed this today, let me know, because I've been flirting with the idea of doing more interviews with people in this space, people, whether they're into breath work, whether they're into, shadow work or Jungian archetypes or NLP or whatever it is they're doing. Everything will be related to personal development, growth, progress, etc., because that's the conversation I enjoy. If you've enjoyed this today, let me know. If you would like to see Nailor back again or hear him back again, depending on where you're watching or listening, let me know, because there is a chance that we'll do more than one, because I'm sure we could. Well, I know we could. But yeah, and then the final thing is, if people want to find out about what you do, or maybe someone wants to take the conversation with you further, where do they go? What do they do? What's on offer? I didn't prepare you for this, so
You didn't. No. Just Facebook. To be honest, find me on Facebook. I do pretty much the same thing as you. So, what was that?
Yeah, I was just going to say, sorry, if I put your website maybe in there, then they can have a look, can't they? I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But that's about it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I should have prepared you for that. But neither of us are really into elevator pitches and all the clever, shiny shit. The funny thing is with us is we basically do the same shit all the time, near enough. So our businesses are very similar, aren't they, in terms of both have masterminds and bringing that kind of community aspect and the shared. There's something pretty cool about having people with similar mindsets, similar challenges, and you see them from all different angles. I think that's quite cool. I know we both do that, obviously. But yeah, I'll put your website in there. Maybe I'll put your Facebook URL or whatever, so people can come have a look. Yeah, see what it's all about.
Come and have a little gander.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
It's been fun. It's all about.
Yeah.
Cool. I will wrap us up. I think I'll stop recording somehow. But yeah, don't think there's anything left to say. But thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And Chris, thanks for. It sounds weird saying Chris. Nailor, thanks for being here.
It's a pleasure.
Speak to you soon.